White, black, Hispanic, Golden Girls, others.
The administration really set up the ghetto in the suburbs in Spanish Harlem. They mix in a few people here and there, but clearly the bureaucracy feels that operating along these racial tribal lines is effective somehow.
Race is a really big organizing principle in prison, especially initially. If you're a new fish and you're white, then the white women will come forward and get you what you need. And if you're a new fish and you're black, then the black women and the Latino women. So sort of the quote-unquote tribes take care of each other.
When you think about race at Litchfield, it's huge and it's really a major part of the story and how things are broken up.
We've got, you know, the boring whites, we've got Spanish Harlem, and then we've got Black Ghetto, are sort of meant to be what they're called in our prison. These are meant to be our three groups.
Look, just pretend it's the 1950s. It makes it easier to understand.
It's very segregated, and I think it's really interesting and fascinating. So the black folks sort of hang out with each other, and then the white folks hang out with each other, and then the Latinas sort of hang out, and then there's like the Golden Girls, the women who are a bit older. So all these little cliques that are based on race.
Did you know they can't float?
What the hell are you talking about?
It's true. Like in the swimming pool, their bone density ain't right for it.
There's one particular episode that it got kind of intense, you know, because everything ugly came out. And it's reality. You know, we don't live in a perfect world. People don't accept everyone. And then when you get it in prison, these women, you know, can get really vicious when it's time to protect their own and their turf.
Racism isn't necessarily what is happening in our show. It's more tribal in that you stick with what you know, in the sense of these groups have familiar backgrounds, have familiar cultural experiences, and when you're in prison, you've lost so much already, and you want to hold on to those things that are reminders of the outside.
Let's get some fried chicken up in here once in a while. Yeah, I said it. I'm black. She black. And we like fried chicken. It's delicious.
It's almost like prison is left behind a little bit. Like they're still living in the 60s and still in prison, and outside life has progressed, but they haven't.
We all just stick to our clans in prison. That's unfortunately the reality of a prison life. And yeah, you also see that there's definitely times when they will work together. The bottom line is we have a shared enemy, and it's the prison system.
The man. Hey.
I love how groups form and unform and fight and come together to fight a common enemy or whatever this is. You know, anything you can that's sticky that you can pull apart and delve into, I'm interested in.
I want you to understand, you do not have to have lesbian sex.
The role of sex and sexuality hopefully plays a large part in this, because I think it plays a large part in people's lives. Everybody's or wants to be. Everyone's thinking about it. We yearn for it. It's connection, it's relationship, it's pleasure, it's all those things. And why should it be different in prison?
The body gets lonely in here.
Yeah, it's not even sex, you know? I miss contact.
I think the show acknowledges that the sexual life of these characters is complex. And I think that the show pays dues to the fact that we have needs, and they will be met. They will be met.
These women get lonely and they need touch, and who are you gonna turn to? You know, maybe a guard, another inmate, nothing serious, just enough to get you by.
It's an interesting scenario with so many women being in the prison and there only being a few men, and it shifts a power dynamic that I think in regular life and culture is, you know, it shifts it completely, it turns it on its head.
I think it shows for anybody in the world as well that there are so many different places that sexuality can still be defined and redefined still.
It's fascinating to think, how do a group of women locked away, how do they live, how do they deal? And I think whether you're young or old, or a man or a woman, or gay or straight, or bi-curious, there is a whole world of things to understand here.
In America, we have people of different races, different ages, different colors, different gender identities and expressions. And prison is a really interesting microcosm of that.
Damn. You cold.
Bitches gots to learn.
In general, I don't shy away from much. And if I'm given a platform, I'm going to step up on it. But you don't want to preach to anyone, and you don't want to, no one wants to be lectured to. So my job is to entertain, and if it gets a conversation started or gets people talking, great.